All right, how's it going, guys? We're back. Patterdale Talk Wednesdays. You guys already know who I am, Patterdale Woods. Today we again brought to you by Live Your Life Dogs, sponsored by the New England Patterdale Terrier Club and the PTCA. And you guys know we come here and talk Patterdale every Wednesday. Today I got a very special guy with us, doing things different. You know, we all do our things with dogs, but he does a little thing. We got Joseph Carter, the Mink Man. I'm pretty sure most of you guys heard of him, if not everyone. But yeah, you wanna say a little something before I get to asking you questions?
Sure. Thanks for having me on. And
Appreciate you for coming, man. For real.
looking forward to it. This will be fun.
Yeah, it should definitely be fun. We got some normally, people will comment. We got some regulars that'll pop in a second, I'm sure. People will leave some comments, ask some questions. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the post them in the comment section, and I'll pull them up so that everyone could see them. But I guess since the Patterdale Terrier, we'll get into the dogs first. When did you start getting into hunting with terriers?
So, my first dog experiences were actually with cattle dogs. I started out, my grandfather's horse trainer, or he was a horse trainer. And I lived with him as a teenager. I moved out, and previous to being a teenager, I'd visit him all the time. Just stay like the summer with him and then go back home. And then when I became a teenager, finally just moved out with him permanently. And he, training cattle horses, he had the need for cattle dogs. And so that was my first dog. And I was interested in hunting. And so I kind of tried to train that dog to hunt. And it didn't really work very well. Herding breeds tend to be very, very high self preservation and like mediocre prey drive. So that doesn't work very well for a hunting dog.
Yeah, definitely
And
need a high prey drive.
yeah, you need more prey drive and less self preservation, pretty much.
Yeah.
So when I ended up randomly this dog that looked kind of like a pit bull. Well, looked just like a pit bull, but obviously I have no way of knowing how it actually was bred. But anyway, it showed up at the farm one day, and I started feeding it.
It just walked up to the farm. Oh, it's a
Yeah,
stray.
just a random stray, pit bull looking dog, but it had no dog aggression. So I mean, chances are it probably wasn't a pit bull, but I mean, it looked like a pit bull.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, whatever it was, it showed up. I started feeding it. My grandpa wasn't too happy about it. I wanted a pit bull before that, and he's like, "No, they'll kill livestock and they'll kill my cattle dogs." And I have no, he just forbade it. But when this dog randomly showed up, it was kind of harder to say no because
Sorry, yeah.
it wasn't like I went and got it. It just
Yeah.
showed up. So anyway, I started hunting that dog with my little collie that I tried hunting with. Wasn't very good at it. The other thing with the collie, he wouldn't track anything either. He was kind of like a sight hound. He'd just like see stuff and go after it, but he wouldn't locate or trail.
Would he use his nose at all?
No, not even a little bit. I mean, maybe like wind scenting, something, but he wouldn't track at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to get him to do it. He just wouldn't. Well, this pit bull looking dog, it liked to track. It was very natural to that dog. And we'd go kill something, and then afterwards I'd like drag it around. I'd tie it to a tree and then drag it around and hide it somewhere, and hide it up a tree or hide it down a culvert or hide it in the bushes or whatever, and leave a trail, and she'd track it without much effort. I got her tracking pretty good. And so then I had basically like a sight oriented dog and a scent oriented dog, and she would track it down. Then he would see it because it was mostly open country where we were. He'd see it trying to sneak away, and he was way faster than she was. So he'd run it down, bite it on the butt and kind of bay it. And then she'd, come up from behind and kill it. And that was kind of our goofy little hunting.
Little 1-2 punch.
Yeah, our little hunting team. But yeah, that's kind of my introduction into dogs in my life. I was a falconer as a teenager,
Okay.
And that led me into getting into mink. And while I had mink, um, I just hunted with mink by themselves. And I had a friend who had a little dog that he hunted with, and it was just a random mutt. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't hunting bred either, but it was like a Catahoula. So it was supposed to be a Catahoula cattle dog mix, but we think it was a Catahoula bull because its head was kind of big and stocky, and the sucker didn't like it would kill raccoons. It wasn't soft at all. And you'd think a Catahoula cattle dog cross would be, bay and mix, and he'd straight kill stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
we're guessing it was a Catahoula bull. The other thing was it was a hog dog. The father was a hog dog. The mother was the cattle dog. We knew that for sure. So the mother, we were pretty sure what it was. It was a collie type cattle dog, and the father was a hog dog that they said was a Catahoula, but like we never saw him. But based off of his son, we think he was a Catahoula bull something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, whatever he was, doesn't matter.
Worked out for you guys.
It worked out great, yeah. And this dog would track and tree and kill raccoons like nobody's business. Anyway, so he would bring it with us when we go catching rats with the mink, and the dog would like locate where a rat was hiding. We could put the mink down the hole, and he would, if the rat was escaping from the mink, he'd catch it, and he just worked out great. And I was like, man, it's really handy having that dog around. Like, we can cover country. Like one thing we do is we go down canals, and that dog could cover way more country than a mink, and he'd tell you, hey, there's something over here. Then we could just put the mink there. So instead of like having the dilly dally with the mink, we could just keep it in a cage until the dog said, hey, there's a rat over here, and then we turn the mink loose. It just made it easier. Same thing with rabbits. We go rabbit hunting. We didn't just like stick the mink in every hole and every brush pile. We could just follow the dog to where there was something, and we wouldn't have to guess. Because you turn the mink loose in a brush pile, you might not get it back for 15 minutes, 5 minutes. Like, and there's nothing there. The mink's just goofing off, like chasing mice or something, But the dog could cut the corners and say, no, skip all these other brush piles and holes and other things. There's a rabbit here, So anyway, he was so useful. The dog's name was Carl. He was so useful in pinpointing where game was, catching stuff that was escaping. He was just so much fun. I was like, man, I got to get a dog myself. So for a while, I just kind of piggybacked on him and just called my buddy, hey, bring your dog. Let's go do whatever we were doing, And pretty soon I was like, man, I got to get my own dog, because he started getting busy and doing his own thing and couldn't come when I wanted to go. And so then I eventually decided to get a dog, and I didn't start with a terrier.
That was going to be my question. What type of dog was that?
She was a pointer lurcher. Her name was Onsa. And a lurcher, for those who aren't familiar with that term, most Americans aren't as familiar with that term. A lurcher is basically any sighthound crossed with some other working breed. And so typically what they do is they name the other working breed. So if it's let's say a greyhound crossed with a collie, they would just call it a collie lurcher. Or if you had a pit bull crossed with a whippet, you'd call it a bull lurcher. Or,
I have a lurcher, 50% greyhound. She's 50% greyhound, and the rest is German pointer, bull terrier, and American bulldog. She's about 7-8 months.
Cool.
We're getting her working, but keep going.
So yeah, my one was a pointer lurcher, which is not as a common of a cross, but some people do them. It was an English pointer, but she actually was heavy on the sighthound side. She was only 1/8 English pointer, so at that point you could barely call her a lurcher. she's 1/8 pointer, and then the rest was like racing greyhound or hot blood, if you're more familiar with that term. Hot blood, which is just a track bred greyhound, and then staghound, which is a coyote hunting greyhound, and I think she maybe had a tiny bit of Saluki in her, but basically she was 7/8 some type of greyhound, 1/8 English pointer. And she was a fun dog. She didn't have as much nose as I was hoping, which makes sense. She was only 1/8 pointer. I really wanted more like a quarter pointer or even a half pointer, but I mean, I didn't have very many options, so I took what I could get. And she was a cool dog, but not quite as much nose as I was hoping.
When did you get your first Patterdale?
Let's see. Okay, so I went hunting down in Louisiana. Oh, I don't know what year it was. I'd have to go look it up. But it was a while after that lurcher. I went. It would have been, I don't know, maybe 5 years after that lurcher, something like that. Maybe not quite 4 years, something like
4
that.
years, okay.
I went down to Louisiana and I was hunting nutria with some guys down there, and they had a little Patterdale, and they said, "Hey, this dog was given back to me because the previous owner couldn't get it to stop killing their livestock. He was killing like goats and chickens and stuff." And they're like, "Hey, they give this dog back. I don't really want her. Like, I've got my own dogs." They're like, "Do you want her?" And I'm like, I'll be here for a week. Let's take her out and see what she's like. So we messed around with her, got her on some nutria and stuff, and got dug to some armadillos on accident. That wasn't the plan, but she went down into some armadillo holes, and she bolted a nutria. Anyway, she was a fun little terrier. I thought, man, she's cool. And she had a little bit more of an athletic build than most Pats, and nice tight little chest, could really wriggle into places. And I worked with her a little bit. I'm like, I think I could break her to the mink. She was like, I don't remember. I think she was older than 1, but younger than 2, so like 18 months or something like that. Like quite a bit older than 1, not just like 14 months or something. So she'd have been like 16, 18, 20 months old, something like that. She had killed mink and, like I said, killed livestock and with the previous owner. But I was like, you know what? I think I could break her to him. So I took her home, just got her introduced to the mink, basically went, kill a rat, good girl, kill a rat, good girl, ignore that mink. Did that over and over again. And then pretty soon I was doing artificial setups in the backyard with, little wood piles. I'd put a rat in it, turn her loose in the backyard, and let her just get frustrated because she can't get to the rat. Trying, can't get to the rat, can't get to the rat, can't get to the rat. And then I'd come over with a mink and turn the mink loose in there. And I'd have the mink like on a string so it couldn't just like go in and kill the rat. It could just scare it out. And then the rat would come out. She'd get to kill it. She's like, "Oh, cool." That, because at first she was kind of like a little scared of the mink. She's like, "Oh, I get in trouble every time I look at that mink wrong." But I fed her as many rats as I could in between, so she didn't get scared and think she couldn't grab anything. I didn't want her to get.
She just had to learn to separate the two from one another.
Yep, this animal's a no, this animal's a yes. This animal's a no, this animal's a yes. And then pretty soon combine them together. Okay, this animal gets the one out that you can kill, And yeah, just little by little broke her to the mink. And then I had to then break her to chickens and sheep and things like that.
And is that what you do with like all your dogs when it comes to getting them used to the mink? I know people with ferrets, like if they get a new puppy, they'll do stuff to even where they'll have like the ferrets and the puppy eat together.
I don't do anything like that. Mink are too mean for that. They try and eat the puppy. But
makes sense.
Straight up have to make sure the mink don't eat the puppy. Like they're mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just take them on leash, and so the mink can't grab the puppy and the puppy can't grab the mink, and let them walk together. And if the puppy gets prey like focused, then I'm like, depending on what stage it's at, I'll either say no, don't do that, or I'll just be like, hey, he can't be around the mink for a while, because the last thing you want to do is accidentally make the dog think he's not allowed to get stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to cur him.
Yeah, you don't want him to be convinced, oh, I'm not allowed to kill anything. So if if it's too early on and they're showing pretty intense prey drive towards the mink, okay, you can't see mink anymore. I'm gonna get you solid on what you can kill. So you've got that in your head and you know you're allowed to, and there's no confusion. Then I'll bring you back to the mink.
And let you learn the separation between the two.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is tell them no, 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 and then you go to get them on a rat, and they're like, "Okay, I won't do it." They're like, "No, no, this one you can." No, you told me no. You know, so you have to be very cautious, in my opinion, to do it right. You want to have 10 yeses for every no.
Mm-hmm.
And so it works two ways. You've got two different types of dogs. You've got dogs that are so driven that you tell them no, and they just give you the middle finger. They're like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. And then you get dogs that are so timid that you tell them no, and then they won't get anything. Okay, I won't kill anything because I want to make you happy, or I'm really nervous or whatever. So either
their prey drive just not that high.
Yeah, exactly. So either one of those dogs, well, it doesn't even necessarily have to be high prey drive, low prey drive. I mean, I've seen bulldogs. Bulldogs are famous for this. They could be crazy high prey drive. And if you tell them no a little too harshly, they won't do it again, and you can't get them to. And people are like, oh, pit bulls are just killers, blah, blah. No, dude, terriers are just killers.
Yeah.
Pit bulls have a very sensitive side to most of them. I haven't seen one that doesn't. I'm sure somewhere there's one that's like a terrier.
Pit bulls, you just got to catch them early. If you do everything early, then a pit bull will do whatever you want it to do.
Well, I've gotten them at 19 months old, 4 years old. I had a 4-year-old pit bull with such high prey drive, she would go after fish in a fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't even have her around a fish tank. She'd go bash her head into the tank because the fish was like, she was crazy high prey drive. She would work herself up to where she was panting like she just run a mile, and she's just sitting there. Just this dog was crazy high prey drive. I accidentally taught her not to get rats.
And how did you accidentally do that?
She grabbed a rat, and another dog came and grabbed the rat from her. It was my dog, and the dog knew better. It was just a terrier being a butthole. Terriers are good at being buttholes. And it ran over and snatched her rat. And I said, you don't do that. You don't take her rat. And she thought I was mad at her. And she's like, okay, I won't get rats anymore.
And she just shut down.
She was 4 years old. She wasn't a little puppy that I raised. Like, she's just like, okay, I won't get rats anymore. And I'm like, no, that was not what I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously what made a little difference too, is that she was 4 and you didn't raise her. You know what I mean? If you had to raise her, she probably would know what's going on by.
I've got Patterdales.
Definitely know what's going on by 4.
6 months straight. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. They still do it.
A Patterdale?
Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, Patterdales don't. They don't. At least my dog, he don't listen for shit. I mean, when she's
I have Pats that I'll yell. That people joke on my videos. Gypsy out is the #1 comment in this made in this video. Gypsy out. Gypsy out. Gypsy out.
It is though. You do say it. Have they ever? I wonder did they ever do one where they counted it?
No, but
there's got to be a video when you say it at least 20 times for sure.
I gotta do that. I don't have any dogs now that are that way. All my dogs listen, but like the next time I get a terrier like that, you're right. I need to do a video where I start doing a count. How many times I tell them out. But yeah. Anyway,
Gypsy was the and she was all Patterdale?
Yeah, as far as I know, yep.
Okay. And then you had I remember
I've never had a
Leia.
I've never had a papered terrier. So when I say they're pure whatever, it's as far as I know, because they're just worker to worker. I've never had a papered terrier in my life. I've had papered bulldogs. I've had a papered actually that's probably papered whippet. But as far as terriers, I've never owned a terrier with a paper. So when I say she was all whatever, I mean it's just worker to worker. So there's a chance someone slipped something way back in the line.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was.
I mean, it makes sense for what you do it though. You just need some good hunters, not like you're trying to breed or show dogs or anything like
Yeah.
that. They just gotta be willing to kill some rats.
Yep. Yep. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. I
Hmm.
don't really care about anything else.
And you had
Well, they need to be healthy too, things like that. I guess I shouldn't say I
yeah,
don't care about anything else, but how well they work, how long they work, that's all that matters to
yeah.
me.
And I've seen your videos when you maybe it was actually when you was getting. I think you ended up picking maybe Poppy or Cherry, but you was going back and forth between a couple different dogs that you went and checked out. You was
Yep.
trying to get a small terrier. I don't know if that was
It was
like
probably
maybe like a
Poppy and
year
Cherry.
ago. Yeah, I think it was. Did you end up keeping both? Is that them too that you was comparing?
Yeah, I ended up keeping them both.
Yeah, yeah, you
So
did.
they're kind of complementary. They kind of work a little differently.
Hmm.
Usually terriers are pretty cut and dry, and they work like they're more of a cookie cutter breed. Some
Hmm.
breeds there's a lot of variation, like bulldogs. There's so much variation between individuals. Other breeds are a little more cookie cutter. They're kind of you get the same or similar result with multiple different individuals. With them, for some reason though, they weren't as cookie cutter. One works better at one thing, one works better at the other, and so I ended up just keeping them both. I didn't. It's easier having multiple little dogs too than it is like multiple big dogs. So I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
they don't take up much space. They don't eat much food. I'll just keep them
Yeah,
both.
yeah. Like I tell people for every like I have a pit bull too, but I tell people if I didn't have this pit bull, that would probably be about 3 more Patterdale.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Easily. But my mink eat as much as they do. I mean, if I get a big male mink, it eats as much as those little terriers.
Yeah, yeah. My Patterdale probably eats. I mean, my pit bull probably eats in one bowl one day. What my Patterdale eats probably in 5 days,
Yeah.
4 days. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Yeah, but and you had a what was Leia?
Leia was actually a lurcher. So
She
she
was
was,
okay. You called it like a pocket lurcher. I remember.
yeah, pocket lurcher. That's just kind of a goofy term I made up.
Okay,
She,
okay.
she's basically like, if you want to just keep it simple, she's roughly half Whippet, half Patterdale with a little bulldog mixed in. But if you want to know exactly what she is, like you have to pull out a calculator.
Okay.
her mom, her mom was one one eighth game bred pit bull, 1/8 yog, 3/4 Patterdale, and then her dad was 7/8 Whippet, 1/8 bulldog. When I say bulldog, I mean American Pit Bull Terrier. Sorry, I know
Yep,
that's
yep.
confusing to some people because they're like they envision these like grotesque
Yeah,
short
they
legs.
remember. Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, people in here know what you
Okay,
mean. But yeah, there's always yeah. Some people are gonna think American Bulldog. Some
yeah,
people
yeah.
think Bull Terrier. But yeah, for the
I
most
mean,
part, people in here know you mean Pit Bull.
yeah, American Pit Bull Terrier. Whenever I say bulldog, so I will never say the term bulldog and mean anything else, uh, unless I clarify. I'll say English bulldog. I'll say American bulldog. But if I just say bulldog, I'm talking
Pit Bull.
most likely game bred American Pit Bull Terrier. And if it's not game bred, it's at least purebred American Pit Bull Terrier. But
Mhm.
yeah, so she was. I mean, you want to do the math to figure out what that is. I mean, it's 1/8 pit bull, like I don't know what Patterdale, and like
Yeah,
one
you said about five,
dog.
six different dogs.
But yeah, that's what she was. Is I just always said she's roughly half Whippet, half Patterdale with a dash of bulldog. Is kind of how I made it simple. She worked though like a terrier. She didn't act like like she had any sight hound in her at all. She didn't have the tendency to look out. Like sight hounds are really, I mean, they live up to their name. They look and they'll look way off in the distance and notice some animal running off in the distance. And terriers, I think they don't have very good vision for one, but the other, even if their vision is perfectly fine, they don't tend to look away from their little bubble. Like they notice everything that's up close to them. And something off in the field, most terriers anyway, I'm sure there's lots of exceptions, but most terriers don't seem to notice it. They're just like, I don't know, it's not very close to me, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean
um,
that's true. I've been out in a farm where there's like where we've seen like a groundhog where it's a little further up and like the little dogs don't They don't notice it.
Yeah, but your sight hound's going to see some like coyote off in the distance. And,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, I mean, makes sense though. That's what the sight hounds are for, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes and same with the terrier. At what
Yeah,
point is it even useful for your terrier to see something across the field? He's not going to catch it anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, even a raccoon, something not very fast. If it's across the field, he's not going to get there in time.
No.
Let alone something that's fast. You know.
Do you go ahead? Finish what you're gonna say.
So anyway, she worked just like a terrier. She would go to ground. She would shove herself in a hole. She was tooth to tooth with a raccoon till she wasn't like hard. I would say she's pretty hard for most people. Most people don't have very hard terriers. Like they say they do, and then when you go to work with them, they're not that hard. She was what I would call like a medium hard. Like I could put her down a pipe with a rope on her, and she'd latch onto a coon, and I could pull the coon back out. So, I mean, there's a lot of terriers that won't even do that, and she was only half terrier. But like, if she did get hit hard enough, long enough, she would go back up and start baying. She wouldn't just stay in it until she was a total mess. I mean, she'd take some damage, but I mean, there's dogs that'll take a lot more, you know.
And do you think that's would you rather a dog that just goes in and stays and doesn't matter the amount of damage it takes, or you rather have something that backs off a little maybe?
So it depends on what I'm doing and the size of the dog. If I've got a tiny dog like Cherry Poppy size, I do not want them to be hard. Absolutely
no.
not.
Yeah.
There's no value in that at all. They need to be hard enough to not flinch on a rat. Right? You grab a rat, it wraps up on your face and bites you. Just chew it up. Don't let it go. Right? But if you're grabbing anything bigger,
so what about earthwork as far as like a groundhog?
What's that?
Like, say, what about earthwork?
Yeah,
like like as far as like a groundhog, like you would something like a groundhog when it goes in there, you want it to grab and hold, or the groundhog just gonna get away.
Even a muskrat, even a groundhog or a muskrat or something not that big. No, I want for something that little, I want them to just stand back and keep it there.
How what's the weight?
Bark. If it turns around, get a mouthful of fur. If it goes back to bite you, step back and bark. If it turns around, get a mouthful of fur. If it goes back to bite you, let go. Bark.
We don't. We like to, you know, over here we like the Patterdales that go in the hole and just engage.
Yeah, and so for me, I got to work them the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that, and I don't want them laying up.
Yeah.
So I've got bigger guns for that. That's what my bulldog's for.
Yeah.
So
well, you know, the bulldogs, and we all have them. The problem is they just can't get into you know, to get in these groundhog holes. It's you need a dog that's like maybe 10 to 14. After that, it gets kind of too big.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no way they're going to fit down a groundhog hole, not even a little bit. But we out here, we've got a lot of bigger dens. So like beaver holes. Obviously, everyone's got like culverts and irrigation pipes. You guys probably don't have irrigation, but we have irrigation. So a lot of places, they're trying to drain their fields. Like if you're going the Midwest and the South and stuff, they're trying to drain their fields. With the West, we're so dry, we're trying to bring water to our fields because we don't have enough rain. And so the farmers have all kinds of different apparatuses around the farm to bring water to their crops. And you end up with raccoons and we don't have woodchucks. We have what's called rock chucks. It's basically the Western version of a woodchuck. They're a little more colorful. Really, I should say a lot more colorful. They're slightly smaller, but not by much. Just they're slightly smaller, and they're more colorful, and they're close relatives. Yeah, anyway, you get rock chucks, you get raccoons, you get different foxes, different stuff hiding in those irrigation pipes, and a lot of times they're big enough to have a bigger animal than just like a little terrier, and you could send either a real big terrier or a real small pit bull or something like that.
And these rock chucks, they They look like little they look like groundhogs with smaller heads.
Yeah, they're very similar. Very similar.
How much do they weigh?
The
I'm not
biggest
sure.
one I've ever caught, oh, I seem to think it was about 13 or maybe just under 13 pounds. But that's the biggest one. That's not like normal. I'm just saying that's like the biggest. I don't even know what their norm is because I don't catch them enough to be able to give you a good idea.
Yeah, it says
I,
right here 3.5 to 11 pounds. So yeah, they're a little smaller than I think groundhogs get about 15.
yeah, if you got a 3.5 pound one, I mean it's still growing. That's
Yeah,
like that's
that's
like
a
a big
small
muskrat.
squirrel, right?
Yeah, I mean that that would be. I don't want to say a baby, but it's not. I wouldn't think it's an adult.
No, no, definitely not.
I would say more like I don't know, 7 pounds would be a smaller adult. 6 even maybe, but definitely not like under 5. Anything
Yeah,
under
yeah,
5, I would.
3.5, they're
And I
definitely
don't. I
smaller.
honestly don't catch enough for me to really be saying this. But if I had one that was 5 pounds, I wouldn't think it's an adult. I'd be like, this thing's a baby. Um, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
catch
don't
them
think.
all the time, so it's not like I have hundreds and hundreds to go through and say, oh well, this is how big they normally are. But yeah, they're just a little smaller than than a woodchuck or a groundhog, whatever you want to call them. Very similar in every way. Um, the biggest difference is their color, and there's quite a bit of overlap in size. They're not a big rock chuck is gonna be almost as big as any woodchuck you'll see. So. But yeah, so we'll end up with stuff like that down in these irrigation pipes or in culverts or rock piles or wood piles and things like that. And you can sometimes get away with a little bigger dog or a lot bigger dog depending on the scenario. And then especially when you get beaver dens, I mean that you could send a mastiff down a beaver den. You're not you're not worried about size most of the time. I
Yeah,
can crawl in some of these beaver dens.
yeah, yeah.
Um, So I mean, it depends on the den. There are tighter dens for sure that you want a smaller dog. Smaller meaning smaller bulldog. I don't mean smaller terrier.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh,
some big
Dapper
terrier.
Trapper has a question.
Yeah, what's
Has
up?
Bindi ever um has Bindi ever got after a badger?
No, no. We have badgers locally, but I rarely see them. It's like once every 5 or 6 years. So no.
Oh, so you don't, yeah, you don't see him like that.
We have them. I just not very many and not very locally. Like if I went out and I'd have to go to like different areas and I usually hunt and I could probably find some. Not too far from here. Just like it's just not the areas I hunt.
Yeah, it's not, and obviously it's not what you
Um,
do.
no, I'd like to hunt with a badger. To be honest, I think they'd be really really useful for some of those situations where we're digging a lot. Digging up rat holes. We're just digging, digging, digging. It would be really fun to have a badger, but the problem is it's just legally complicated. Otherwise, I would have done it forever ago.
Oh, so so you looked into it before?
Oh yeah, I'd have one. I would have done it and still have one probably, assuming it actually worked. But
Yeah.
obviously, it's just a theory. Until you do it for a number of years, you can't really say how well it works. But I think it would work. I don't see why it wouldn't.
I mean, I mean, yeah, I don't know. You probably one of the only people out here trying to tame or thinking about taming a badger, but
Well, mink are about as mean as you can get. The badger's just bigger.
yeah, a lot bigger. I like to hunt with a badger. That's what I want. So I was like, I never even heard anyone even kind of think about something like that. But I'm not surprised that you said it. To be honest.
Yeah, well, they're absolute digging machines. They're just dig. That's their whole body is just made to dig. And there's days on certain jobs, and to be honest, it wouldn't be something I'd use on a regular basis. I don't think. I think it'd be very specific jobs. But when I get on one of those jobs, literally that's all we're doing all day long is we're just digging up rat holes. And my dogs will dig and dig and dig, and you know, they're dogs. Dogs are not made to dig. Even
Yeah.
terriers, people are like, oh, my terrier, my dachshund or whatever is a digging machine. No, they're not. They're
Yeah.
not digging machines. Their paws are little round things with these little short claws. Badgers are
They're
digging machines.
digging. They're good at digging for like their size and for dogs and what they are. But yeah,
Yeah.
They're
I
not
mean,
moving.
a badger's paw, a 15-pound badger has a paw bigger than like a 90-pound dog. And it's got claws longer than any dog on this planet, unless it's just been horribly neglected, you know. and and he's just, and their muscles, everything and on their bodies just made to rip up the ground.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, it's all theory, obviously, until I actually do it. But I think I could do it. I found someone who's trying to get a mink. It's like a mini zoo, and they want to get a mink. And so I'm gonna see if I could partner with them and see if maybe they could get the licensing and I could work the badger, and I'd be like a employee or whatever, a trainer or whatever for them. And so basically it would legally be the zoo's badger, but I would go and take it on jobs. If we could work something out like that. I don't know. It's all up in the air right now. So I've tried this with another organization and they just never got their licenses, so we never went through. And not yet anyway. This other one, it sounds like they already have their licenses because they have otters and stuff. So, and wolves and like coyotes, a bunch of stuff that are typically not very like the general public can't own. So I might be able to just get a badger through them, and then I'm like on their roles as the trainer. And
from what I understand, it's like, isn't it not, I mean, I never got it, but wouldn't it be harder to get a like a license to have otter than badger? Or
well, they are non-native otters, so I don't know. Maybe the badger would be harder. But if they can get non-native otters, why not non-native badgers? So either, whichever is easier, I don't care. Get a honey badger if it's easier to get the non-native type. Get an American badger if it's easier to get the native type. Whatever is easier, I don't care. I think they're both digging machines. The American badger is a little more specialized digging machine, whereas the honey badger is a little more of a generalist. Like they can climb trees and a bunch of other things too. So, but I think either one would be way more advanced digging machine than dogs and me.
Yeah.
Like I honestly have dug. I've gotten down and dug with my hands because sometimes you can't use a shovel or you'll collapse the burrows. And so
same thing with when you're doing the earthwork with the Patterdales for great groundhogs and stuff. Sometimes you gotta, depending on the angle of the hole or where you're at, sometimes you just gotta get in there with your hands because a shovel might not angle right, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, certain soil types you have to use a shovel. Other soil types you cannot use a shovel. Some it's like you kind of go back and forth, shovel, 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 hand, shovel, shovel, hand. It just depends on the soil type. But there's some soil types where I'm literally down there sticking my hand in the hole, ripping it up, sticking my hand down, ripping up. And that's the only way to keep from losing the hole. And I'm just like, and I'll do that motion, just like hand down, rip it up, hand down, rip it up, until my arms are just like sore. And half the time I've got like bites on my fingers or scratches on my hands, and I'm down there, man, it's exhausting. It would be really cool to have the badger do what it does anyway in nature, just fly through that dirt. And then I would assume they've got some type of sensing abilities. Probably I would assume sense of smell, but maybe some other able to feel vibrations or sound or hear sounds or something. I don't know, but I'll bet you, with them being such a specialist at digging up prey, they probably have abilities above and beyond what the dogs do to locate where to dig as well.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think they do they would have the vibration thing, because isn't that what like moles use? Isn't moles kind of like all nose and like they can't even see or something? It's just all vibration and nose, I guess.
Exactly. So I would assume whether it's just hyper strong sense of smell or something, I'll bet you badgers have abilities to be like, hey, there's a rat here. Whereas the dogs, like, I'm not sure, because you think about it in nature, how often are canines digging things up? Like it's a very small part of their repertoire. You know, of course, they're a lot better diggers than like cats. I'm not saying they don't dig at all, but they're not specialists at digging. So you would think a specialist like a badger probably has some senses. I'm assuming smell, but maybe something else that allow them to know, hey, there is something here. Let's dig here, rather than just kind of like digging everywhere the way a dog kind of seems to do a lot of the time. Anyway, it's all theory. It would be fun to try, and I hope before this life's over, I get to find out how useful it actually is. Because ideas that sound wonderful, sometimes they just fall flat on their face. You know, and there's only one way to find out.
Only one way to find out is to, try it, see how it goes. Oh, here's another question. Mink Man bred Bindi and calls her a working bred pit bull. Is he gonna make his own bloodline of working bred pit bulls? Probably not, because you said you really don't do the paperwork or know the bloodlines or anything like that, right?
I do with the pit bulls. So Bindi, I did not breed her. I acquired her from a gentleman down in Texas, and she was bred to do what pit bulls do, and then I trained her not to do it. Mm-hmm. And focused her drive towards prey, rats and raccoons, and not towards what her natural inclinations are. Mm-hmm. And she's great at it. She has no.
Yeah, I watched plenty of videos you have in Bendy's. Yeah, you can't. I mean, she's just doing her thing.
She's flawless. I mean, she won't squabble. She won't. She's honestly a little bit too polite. She's like, "Oh, is that your rat? I'll let you have it." It's like, no, that dog's about to lose that rat. That dog's a piece of crap. Don't honor that dog. Get in there and kill it for him. You know, she's very polite, very, very polite. But I would rather that over the boisterous stealing rats from other dogs bullcrap. I hate that. I really, really
and with pit bulls, it can turn anytime. It could turn into I just snatch the dog up because I want his rat. You know what I mean?
We'll grab the dog and the rat too. Yeah. So I would rather her be a little over polite. With her being the muscle of the group, I'd rather her be a little over polite rather than
definitely
over aggressive. So yeah, but she's an absolute angel as far as I'm concerned when it comes to manners with other dogs. Now I have bred Bindi. If you're watching my channel, that's a new development. Over the last few months, I went and bred her to a very select male. I was extremely picky on who I bred her to, and the pups are looking great. I don't really plan on having a line of pit bulls necessarily, but what I would like to do is, assuming the female I picked out, as good as I hope, I will then breed her to another male somewhere down the road. Well, and just kind of on the matriarchal side of things, I guess I'll kind of have a line, but I don't know. You could loosely call it a line breed, but not really, because I don't know that the males I'm choosing are necessarily going to be that closely related. So no.
Yeah, it's got to be like to get to officially call it your own line. You got to have like 3 generations in. Yeah, you got to have both sides, and you got to be like 3 generations in.
And I'm going to be one-sided only. So
yeah.
You couldn't really call it my line.
You'll be the breeder. You'll be the breeder or the person that bred them, but it wouldn't really be considered. On
the bottom side, it'll be all my stuff. The top side, it'll be some fancy dogs. I'll tell you what, though, I'm a picky guy.
Yeah, I've seen that in some of your videos.
I've got a guy that I'm if I can talk him into it, I'm going to put some old school, been in the freezer since before I was born kind of stuff. But I think I might be able to talk him into it with this female that I've got, because with who her sire is. So we'll see if I can really talk him into it. I can't say any names, because the minute I say what dog we're talking, but he's got every title a dog could ever have, and he's old school. Like I said, his sperm's been frozen longer than I've been alive. So,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll see if that ever happens. If it ever happens, you guys will probably never know, because I won't be able to say the dog's name. But anyway, we'll see if that happens. But this time around, though, I didn't go back in time, but I bred to the best thing living, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, he's the modern day Jeep, the modern day. And pick your great that you want to name. He's a producer of producers. So anyway, we'll see how these pups turn out, but I really like what I'm seeing so far. Really smart, athletic, confident little pups. And of course, there's only so much you could tell from a pup. She might be a total flop, but I mean, for a puppy, she's looking really good. And her brothers too.
I mean, we can only, you can only hope for the best with the Patterdale Terrier, any dog that whatever you're trying to do with it, you get it, and you do your best with it and hope for the best. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's all you could do.
My thoughts are going.
He wants a hint. What does he want to hint at? What I bred her to?
Yeah. I think he wants a hint on what
or the battery.
What you're trying to breed Bendy to,
which the old fashioned, the old blood
chosen before you. But
let me think. Okay. I've got the perfect.
Don't say too much. You don't want to ruin it for yourself.
No. Because if the guy finds out I'm talking about it, he'll be like, "Oh, hell no."
My point exactly. So
let's just say the dog's name. And don't, if you can guess it, don't say, "Is it this?" Okay, you guys just keep it to yourself in your heads. Okay, so the name of the dog, he has every accolade a dog could ever have of the highest level. I mean, not like tornado stuff. Obviously, there's only like a couple dogs in the world who've ever gotten that high. So I'm not saying tornado, but other than the double GR, he's a GR, GRCH, and a ROM, and his name is the same name as an animal that I think would be really cool to have. And if you can't figure that out, then I can't help you. So anyway, and it's so up in the air, and I might have just ruined it by giving that much detail. So we'll see. But yeah, the sire that I bred her to, like I said, he's an extremely consistent producer, and I'm really excited to see what he throws in Bindy's pups, because Bindy's a pretty cool dog.
Was there a terrier that got stolen from you? Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really anything to say on that. People are pricks. I was out hunting along in a public area, doing pest control, I should say, rather than hunting. I mean, it's the same thing for me. Hunting and pest control is one and the same a lot of times for me. But anyway, I was doing pest control along a canal, and that section of canal was near a hiking trail / golf course. And yeah, someone helped themselves to my dog. So I don't have any. There's no news on it. And knowing people, yeah. Anyway, I can only speculate. But yeah. One of the cool things I'm liking about these little pups that Bindy had is they're really, really smart. They they have that high desire to please that Bindi does, to the point where it's, it's almost a flaw. You got to be careful not to hurt their feelings or something. But a lot of drive, really high drive. Both the female I picked and the male that my buddy picked have seen raccoons. We won't let them touch them, like even the dead body, because they're still being vaccinated. They're so little, they don't have their full vaccination yet, but they'll scream their head off at a coon, just squirming to get out of your arms and going bonkers. And they're just a tiny little puppy. So I'm excited. Here, just a couple more weeks, we'll let them start chewing on a dead coon. So what we'll do is we'll go out hunting with Bindi, or do a pest control job with Bindi, whatever we happen to do. And then when she gets on it, we just hold them back off the ground. We don't put them on the ground with a leash just in case something happens. So we hold them up off the ground and just let them watch. And then when she finishes it, then we'll let her chew on the fresh one. Well, it's still warm, but no longer a threat. And they're dying to do that now. And they're just, like I said, they're not even done with their vaccination schedule. We can't even let them chew on the carcass yet. They're just screaming their little heads off. So, but that's how Bindi was too. Bindi was the same way. She was, I didn't introduce her until she was done with her vaccinations, but it was with Boss, my bull lurcher. He'd catch one and then I'd let her watch. And then as soon as it was done, I'd put her down and she'd hit that throat, and I'm excited to finally let those little pups hit the throat, but they're just too little now. Like I said, I don't want them. Raccoons are dirty animals. I want to make sure they're fully vaccinated before they get that in their mouth.
Yeah. Don't want any mistakes.
People talk about rats being dirty, but raccoons are way dirtier.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Way worse parasites, at least for a dog, as far as a dog's concerned. Yeah. And people too, because raccoons carry rabies, but rats don't. Rats don't carry rabies.
Yeah, was it rats and possums, right?
Well, any small to medium sized rodent. So I think woodchucks are about the smallest rabies carrying rodent. Everything smaller than a woodchuck shouldn't be able to carry rabies. I've heard lots of theories why, but I don't know that anyone really knows. But like muskrats, squirrels, rats, mice, none of them are a rabies risk at all. Some people will say, oh, well, they're too small, but that's not true, because bats carry rabies like crazy, and they're way smaller than a rat.
Yeah, that's true.
And weasels can carry rabies, and they're smaller than a squirrel. So it's nothing to do with size. I don't know exactly what it is, but bigger rodents like woodchucks sometimes can carry rabies. Beavers have been known to carry rabies. But anything smaller than a woodchuck, if it's a rodent, an actual rodent, and not smaller any other animal, because there's like skunks are smaller than a woodchuck, and they're crazy high rabies carriers. So you can't. So it's got to specifically be a rodent and smaller than a woodchuck, and the rabies risk is almost nil.
Can you say the name of the living dog you bred to?
No, I'd rather not.
All right.
He's I'll give you some hints on him. If you could figure it out, good on you. He's black. He went at 33 pounds. He's from Ukraine originally, but he's known worldwide. He's got dogs on the ground. I don't, maybe not worldwide, but many parts of the world. There's I should be able to do some play on his name. Let me think. His name. Now, come on. Let me think of a little riddle with his name. A vessel that takes you across the ocean. So if you could figure that out, That's his father's name. And if you're really into bulldogs, you probably already know who I'm talking about. But if not, that's good. You don't need to know. Which, by the way, I'm not in that world at all. As you see, my dogs are completely dog broke. I'm not in that world. I don't have anything to do with it. But when I'm going to get a working dog, I want the very best of the best athlete, and competition's the only way to produce that. So,
yeah. Some people might have a clue.
Yeah, if you know very many, yeah, people will figure it out. So basically,
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, the story of the terrier. Yeah, so that little terrier, her name was Gypsy. I got Gypsy from a friend of mine. I was needing a little terrier and didn't have one at the time. Leia was the smallest dog I had, and she's 21 pounds. So I mean, not a very small dog. I mean, not a big dog, but not a tiny dog for sure. 21 pounds, and I needed something tiny. And I had a job in a attic where there were some raccoons, and the attic down where it got real tight, they would just avoid us and go down in this tight area. And the raccoons were trap broke, or trap shy, whatever you want to call. They'd been trapped in a cheap piece of crap, have a heart, and then broke out of it. And so they knew what a trap was, and you couldn't get them in a trap. They'd also been caught in some other style trap, I think, if I remember right. This was years ago, so it's hard to remember. But basically, the homeowners tried to do the job themselves and educated the raccoon in every way to avoid being trapped. So we couldn't catch this raccoon. They couldn't catch a raccoon. Nobody could catch this raccoon because the homeowners tried to do it first with cheap piece of crap have-a-hearts from China, that just fall apart.
Yeah.
So anyway, that raccoon could not be caught any other way. And every time they tried to seal up the opening into their attic, she would just rip their house apart, finding new ways in. And so it was just an absolute mess for this family trying to get rid of these raccoons. And so I was like, man, I need a little dog to get in that little tight crevice where the roof kind of met and got real skinny, and they were just getting down in there. And I didn't have that little dog at that time. My little, so back to my first terrier, you guys probably wonder, well, what happened with her? My first terrier, her name was Gremlin. She was the one I got down down in Louisiana, brought home. She was a great little dog, but she had what's called coonhound paralysis. And nobody knows for sure exactly what coonhound paralysis is, but according to my study, the best way I've heard it explained is it's basically an allergy. Because not every dog can get coonhound paralysis, and not every raccoon can cause the reaction. So you need two things to line up: a dog who's susceptible to coonhound paralysis, and if you guys understand something differently, realize I understand that there's more than one theory. So I'm just presenting my understanding of coonhound paralysis. So no need to argue about it. If you see it differently, great. But anyway, my understanding of coonhound paralysis is you need a dog who's susceptible to it, and you need a coon who carries it. And when the two meet and exchange saliva, the dog goes into a reaction where they basically become semi-paralyzed for a while. And every time they get a new reaction, it gets worse, most people say.
Yeah, we had someone on here. I don't want to say the wrong person, but they had a dog that got that. And what you just said is that, yeah, every time they went out and, like, even if they just went out and hunted the dog and the dog got bit up, it was like it took longer for the dog to heal, and it was like it was weaker and all that after it had the coon paralysis.
Yeah. A lot of times it seems like they never fully recover.
Exactly what he said.
Yeah,
yep, exactly what he said.
And they can get it again, and some places don't carry it. My friend in Louisiana, which that's where I got the dog from, so it kind of makes sense that she would have that tendency to get it because they wouldn't find out, right? There wouldn't be a culling process of, hey, let's not breed that dog. It got coonhound paralysis, because they don't have it down there. He said that they never ever ran into coonhound paralysis, and the only guy he knows who did have it, he went and traveled somewhere and hunted, and then came back and the dog had it. So it's certain areas have a higher or lower prevalence of the disease. And I know my area has it because I have a friend, actually the same one who's about to give me this terrier whose story I'm telling. He had a dog who had a susceptibility to it, and she got it like 3 different times. And so it's a pretty common disease here, at least common enough that if you have a dog that's susceptible to it, you shouldn't be taking it coon hunting ever again. So when I found out little gremlin was susceptible to coonhound paralysis, I said, well, okay, that's fine. She's a good ratting dog. I'll just keep her for ratting. But when I stopped hunting her for coons, she got really frustrated because she wasn't, like, between my ratting and my coon hunting, the dogs are being worked consistently, right? And they get all their jitters out and they're satisfied. But when they could only do one or the other, they spent so much downtime that she just would get frustrated, and she started attacking my other dog, who was a great big dog, and would have just killed her. So now I've got a dog who I can only hunt on rats. So she's not being worked very often. Now I got to lock her up so she's not getting in fights with this other dog who could kill her at any moment if they get in another fight. And it was just like, you know what? I can deal with a dog that fights. Just keep her separate. I can deal with a dog who has coonhound paralysis. I'll just keep her for ratting. But a dog who fights and which it wasn't like she's fighting all the time. I could work the dogs together. It was if they had too much downtime and they were alone and she'd get bored. That's when problems happen.
When they're working, they're occupied.
Yeah, it wasn't like a constant problem. It was just, it would be a random, like she could go 6 months without an issue. And then one day when things were a little too boring for her, boom, crap would happen. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I could deal with one thing or the other. The dog fighting, sure, just keep her separate. The dog having susceptibility to the coonhound paralysis, that's fine. Just don't hunt raccoons. But when I had a dog who had both in the same package, I was just like, you know what? It's not fair for this dog just to be locked up all the time. I'm going to find her a new home. And so I sent her to a guy to hunt foxes back east. So when I moved her along to the guy to go hunt foxes back east, I now had a hole in my team. I needed a little tiny terrier because the smallest dog I had was Leia that was 21 pounds. That's not a very small dog, No. So back to, sorry. I realized I hadn't explained that part. So back to the story. So I had this job with the raccoon that couldn't be trapped, trying to get it out of the attic. So I called my friend. I'm like, hey, you have a little tiny terrier, don't you? I think you told me about this little teeny dog. He's like, oh yeah, I got this little dog named Gypsy. I'm like, is she old enough to work, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I've been working her a little bit. And I think he'd actually took her out with me once. So now that I think about it, I'd already seen her once or twice with him. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, I got this job. Could you come help me with it? And he's like, sure. So he brought her down. We stuck her in the attic, and she squeezed right down in there and got the coons out and worked great. I was like, man, I really like that little dog. I'm like, would you by chance be willing to part with her, or are you pretty in love with her? And he's like, oh no, man, I totally would part with her. I'm like, okay, I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I just saw her work once, but if you're okay with it, let me take her for a little while and see how she works out. And then if I like her, I'll keep her. If I don't, I'll just give her back to you. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm cool with that. So anyway, that's how I got little Gypsy. And she was a cool little dog. She wasn't very athletic. I really wish she was more better built. Like she really had I kind of almost think she had dwarfism or something. Like she kind of had a funny little build.
Yeah. Not too much agility.
Not very agile, but she tried really hard. Like, to give you an idea how hard she tried, if she couldn't fit in a hole, she would back up and run at the hole. Just cram herself into there.
Yeah, just try to squeeze herself through.
And part of the reason I think she was a dwarf was both her parents were like low 20s. So both her parents were like 21, 22 pounds, something like that. And she was freaking I can't remember, 13 pounds or 12 pounds or something like that. I think it was 12 pounds. I'd have to go look it up. But I mean, that's a big difference. She was half the size of her parents.
Yeah.
And like her funny little shape, I kind of think she was a dwarf, but I don't know. Anyway, she worked out though. She was a cool little dog. Like I said, she gave it her all. Man, she'd grab a rat, and that rat would just wrap up on her face, and she would just crunch up to the head. She didn't re-grip. Like so many dogs were like, and they let go and they try and grab. No, she just would slowly crunch up to the head or chest or whatever she got to finish the rat.
Crush it. Yeah.
She didn't re-grip. She was just a solid little dog in that way. But when it came to raccoons, she would go bah, 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 hit it, bah, 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 hit it. Like she had enough self-preservation to keep herself from getting chewed up. I mean, she would get hit a little bit. It wasn't like she'd walk away without any
scar-free, yeah.
Scar-free, but she wasn't just getting smashed. Which at her size, I needed a dog with self-preservation. So she was a nice mixture of just as much fire as I needed for what I do, but not so much to get herself destroyed, you know. So I could put her down a beaver hole, and she would go in there, hit a beaver. If the beaver didn't come out, she'd hit it, but then get out of the way, and then hit it, and then get out of the way, and then let that beaver go out. And then the coolest thing was, for me, she never followed it into the water. She would go right up to the water and stop. Maybe have her feet in the water, but she wouldn't swim after it. Some of those little which is dangerous. Like you don't want a pit bull swimming after a freaking beaver, let alone.
No, yeah, you don't want. I mean, yeah, you know how it goes. You don't want any land animal fighting any water animal in the water. You know what I mean? Aquatic animal.
And she was perfect. She would get them out because I had beavers that avoided coming out. They were giving her a hard time, and she never got bit. She'd just work them till they come out, and then she'd stop right at the water's edge and let us go spear them and never go beyond that. And then if it was a coon in the hole instead of a beaver, she'd go to work in it, and we'd hear snarl, 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 bark, bark, bark. Be like, okay, send in Bindi, and Bindi go in, because you don't want to send the pit bull in before you know there's no beaver in there, because if you don't want them tangling with a beaver, beavers cut down trees for a living. You know, they'll cut an artery or slice a tendon, or it's just a night. I mean, they might be fine for 10 beavers in a row, but the one they have an accident on, it's a big accident. And I have no interest in playing that game. So we send the little terrier with just enough confidence to get him out, but enough self-preservation not to get hurt. And so far, it's worked wonderfully. I send that's part of the reason you were saying you want those hard terriers that just nail the woodchucks. The biggest reason why I want one that has that self-preservation is I'm sending them in after beavers. I do not want them latching onto that beaver. Absolutely not. I want them to bark, nip, stay out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing a different type of work. And if I was using my Patterdale, she's about 10 pounds. Like, yeah, I'm not sending her into no anything really where I know there's something just too big for her, because she's gonna get herself killed, because she's gonna engage. You know what I mean? So exactly. It's a beaver, a big badger, fisher, or whatever. She's just gonna engage and try to shake it up like she normally does. But obviously she's not shaking up no beaver or anything. But yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, most people I know with Patterdales have several of them, because like you said, you could like, boom, okay, you've been waiting all winter for the summer comes so you can hunt when it's hot. The groundhog season came, and you went out hunting one day and your dog gets beat up, and now your dog's down for a month and a half. So like you said, for someone like yourself who's got to go out the next day and the next day and the next day, yeah, you don't want your dog's getting beat up too much. You know what I mean? Unless you got friggin' 50 dogs, but now you got 20 dogs handling. That's a whole nother job in itself. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I have one Patterdale, and I do plan on getting others, somewhat just for that reason, where yeah, once they get too much damage, they gotta you know, even if it's for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you're somewhere where it's like, oh, I could just go hunting. I could just take a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute drive, or just go out back, take a, walk a couple minutes out back in my yard, and I'm in the forest and I can hunt. It definitely sucks when if the one dog you got doing the earthwork is down, and you can't do anything for 30 days or whatever. So I understand where you're coming from too, as far as like, you don't want them to engage. And at the same time, we're using them for earthwork. You know what I mean? We're not using them for beaver dens and things like that. So,
yeah.
But I definitely
that's
noticed that people have several Patterdales for that reason, because you might have 6 Patterdales and 3 of them might be down for a month and a half. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and my position, I really want as few dogs as I can get away with. I want one dog for this, another dog for that, and another dog for this, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I've got my soft terrier. I don't really need a hard terrier.
Well, you got enough. You got enough minks, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the reason I've got more mink is because nobody breeds mink. Well, that's not true. Obviously, there's thousands of people who breed mink, but they breed them for fur. They don't breed them for working qualities. So the only reason I have more than just like, if I didn't have to breed, I probably would have like maybe 6 mink tops, like tops.
Yeah.
I probably would keep it more down to like 3 or 4, to be honest, or even 2. But I just can't do that because I have to have a gene pool. I don't have anyone else I could be like, oh, hey, can I breed your mink? Like, well, yeah. I could actually. I could. Yeah, I could breed to. I've got 1,000 mink next door I could breed from, but none of them are selected for working qualities. They're all
they're just in cages. They grow, get the fur, and move on.
Yeah, and their selection process has nothing to do with my selection process. So I have created my own little line, and in order to have my own little line, I've got to have enough. And I actually had quite a bit more. I've downsized to 13. This is like the bare minimum. I really probably should have more to keep the gene pool going, because at this point I kind of have to bring in new blood more often than I'd like. And when I do, I'm just selective about the individuals I bring in. But still, even if I'm really selective, that individual, who knows what his parents were like. So even though he might be a phenomenal mink, his parents might both suck. And he's going to have those sucky genes in there.
Yep.
So even though he's a great, it's kind of like, it'd be kind of like, if you think about it from the dog world, it'd be like going to the pound and finding a game dog at the pound. Oh, this terrier's, this dog's small enough to go in a hole. It's willing to go in a hole. It engages while it's down in the hole. Well, how many are you going to have to go through to find like that, right? Yeah. Okay, I finally found one. Now we're going to breed him. Yeah, but his parents both sucked. He just happened to be the one puppy in his whole litter that turned out. What's the likelihood that he's going to produce himself? Not very good.
Yeah.
Even though he might be a monster.
It's even vice versa. I've seen dogs that wasn't really too game themselves, but they produced dogs that was game.
Yeah, and it's because they were related to game dogs. Their mom and dad.
Their father, their mother, exactly. Their mother and their father was game, but they didn't really come out game. But their puppies was coming out game because it was their grandparents had it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So you're better off breeding an individual who doesn't perform so well, but comes from dogs who do, than a dog who does perform super well, but his prodigy are all crap. Like, for example, you could find a border collie that kills raccoons. I guarantee you, if you looked hard enough, you looked long and hard and went through enough dogs, you'd find a collie that kills coons. But he's going to not produce anything like himself because most border collies bark at raccoons,
And anything, not anything, but really, most dogs, if you turn them on to something early enough, they'll get to it. You know what I mean? Most depending on the breed, but something like collies that have maybe not a good hunting drive, but they do have a strong drive. You know what I mean, for what they do. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they have work ethic for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd love to find a collie that would kill rats without flinching, because if you could find a collie, and I guarantee you they exist, you found a collie that would kill rats without flinching and flipping and doing all this wanny stuff, dude, you'd have an amazing dog because that thing would work all day, every day, in every condition imaginable.
Yeah.
Cold, heat. I mean, man, some of these dogs, some of
You'd
these
be
little
fast as
Patterdales,
hell doing it.
some of these little Patterdales are freezing to death, and it's like barely, not even freezing temperatures. You're sitting there in the 40s and they're wet, and they're like, oh, I can't handle it. Man, no collie's going to be wimping out in freaking -40 in wet conditions. Like they just don't care.
No,
They,
yeah.
not just mentally, they physically can handle any temperature. Heat that would kill a terrier, they're fine with. Cold that would freeze a terrier, give them hypothermia, they're fine with. And I'm not saying terriers are weak. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
those herding dogs, they have to work in all conditions.
And I mean that's what, and I was just about to say that's what they're, you know, those herding dogs are bred for, you know, that they could be herding in any condition. They could be herding East Coast, West Coast, this part of the world, that part of the world, in any condition. So over the years, they were bred to handle any conditions. You know what I mean? Where
and hunters kind of have the luxury of it's almost always a pastime. I'm going to go hunting for fun. Collies, you don't go get your collie out for fun. You're like, I've got sheep out. They need to come in. It doesn't matter that it's -20. It doesn't matter that it's 110. It doesn't matter that it's rained. It doesn't matter that it's rocky. I don't care about any of those factors. The sheep need to come in.
Yeah, I mean, you can't care unless you're going to lose a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of sheep.
Exactly. And if you can't do it, dog, I'll find someone who will. You're gone, you know, like, so they are very soft in some areas, like their head, like they're scared of teeth and they're not gritty, no, blah, blah. But in other areas, you can't find harder. I don't know that you, and when I say collies, that's just the dogs that I grew up with. So you could replace that with Kelpie. You could replace that with Healer. You could replace it with a number of different herding breeds. I just say collie because that was the one I grew up with. But yeah, and some of them are tougher than collies. Like I think those Kelpies, from what I've heard, they're physically even tougher than a collie. So, but anyway, those dogs, man, you can't be like, well, he's got a sore paw, so we won't bring in the sheep today. Or I'm going to have a backup sheep dog. Like, no, you're my only dog. You got to move the sheep in. And if you can't move the sheep in, I'm getting a new dog. Like, so their feet are just tough as nails. And anyway, they have a lot of cool attributes. Those herding breeds, they're just too dang soft. And I can't handle, even on rats, I can't handle a dog that's flipping them around and, oh, I might get bitten. Okay, well, sorry, I'm gonna go get a different dog.
Yeah. You know what it is, though. Anytime they want to make something tougher, they bring in some type of terrier with it.
I'd love to, and I don't know that I'll ever do it in a million years, but I'd love the idea of crossing like a really, really just suicidally hard Patterdale, like tiny, suicidally hard, super tiny, like 8.5 pound. Just if you put him down there and there's a mountain lion, he's gonna go chew on its tongue while he's going down. You know what I mean? This crazy little dog. Cross that with a real nice like Kelpie or collie, and then pick out the monster of the litter. You know, keep them long enough that you find the one that's not scared of teeth. I think that would be really cool because the Kelpie or collie or whatever herding breed you use is going to dramatically increase the athletic ability because most terriers are really not athletes.
Yeah, the Kelpie probably be as far as looks, the Kelpie might be a little better. The Kelpies some of them kind of look like big Patterdale Terriers, like the ears and the, you know what I mean, the way their body's built and stuff like that.
But I think that would be a cool cross. Get the fire from the terrier, the brains, and the athletic ability, and the heat and cold tolerance. And
that's a big difference on the bone structure, though.
The focus too. Those herding breeds have crazy focus. They'll sit and stare and focus, just give everything their attention for hours and hours and hours. I mean, It's crazy. Like you can work one of those dogs for 12 hours and they're still like just
Zoned in, yeah.
hyper zone focused.
Yeah, I've
And
seen there's and like you said, just for fun, if there's dogs, something like a collie, I've seen people get those just because they like them, and it's like, yeah, if you're not, if you're not working them,
well, that's not a good pet. No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
not at all.
I think there's more terriers that would make a house pet than a collie because
What do you feel about the Go ahead, finish what you're gonna say
because there's a lot more of them that have off switches and can mellow out. Um, but
what do you?
man, collies are just herding breeds in general. It doesn't have to be a collie.
Yeah, they're just they're just full of
Their brains just
they
always going, and their body wants to be going. And if it's not going, man, they're gonna drive you nuts.
yeah. What do you think about the Patterdale as far as like obviously over here, we're we don't really we don't really encourage anyone to get Patterdales if you're not working them. As far as like people contact me because they want a Patterdale puppy or something like that, and my first question would be, if you're planning on working them, if they're not, respectfully, I'm gonna tell them I can't really help you. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to keep the hunting aspect alive over here as far as what the dog was bred for. Because most dogs, as you already know, most breeds, once they get in the hands of too many people, they what they're naturally bred for is dumbed down or just completely. Some breeds is kind of like gone. You know what I mean? But
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't breed dogs, so I don't really have a say in that. But I can say if I get a dog and it doesn't turn out, I'm not a hard cull kind of guy. I'll cull it from my program.
Yeah,
I give it to someone as a pet or some other job. Like, so let's say the dog's not pet quality. It's too hyper. Let's say I had a little terrier, for example. It's too soft.
That's what I was saying as far as that was kind of my question as far as like even Patterdales. How do you feel about them as far as like being house dogs or people getting them for pets? Kind of like how we was talking about how, people get collies and it's kind of like, completely bad idea if you don't plan on working them. I kind of think the same. I know several people I knew had Patterdales and they just planned on working them, but they didn't work them enough, and the dog kind of like just ended up like a wild house wrecker.
Yeah, I think so. My opinion is I don't like people breeding them for pets, right? So if you purposely got a Patterdale and your only plan is to breed it to be a pet and then you sell it to other people to be pets, I'm uncomfortable with that. And the reason is it's I feel like it could water down the breed because most people aren't
For sure
as picky as I am and only breeding to workers. And so that watered down pet line is going to end up due to people and their not being as careful as they should be. That blood will kind of start seeping back into the working lines and water it down. But in my opinion, and I'm not saying this needs to apply to other people, if you want a hard cull in your program, that's your own business. But for me, if I have a dog and it doesn't work out and it's not working quality for anyone, I'm going to give it away as a pet and someone's going to, assuming it's pet worthy, because some dogs are just, okay, so if I had a dog, I shouldn't say I would hard cull a dog if it was like aggressive and dangerous towards people.
Because some dogs are just like, unless it's with the right trainer and the right situation or the right, even the right setup. I know people where it's like, okay, you might know how to deal with the dog, but like your setup is probably not like this dog might break out that setup and get to one of your other dogs because your setup's just not built for that type of aggression or that size dog with that much aggression. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there are dogs that just shouldn't be around. Like they just need to be removed completely, right? They're just dangerous to the public. But if the dog is not like that, he just doesn't work for my uses, I find him a home. So we were talking earlier before we started. I have a Whippet right now that's in a goofy limbo because she doesn't like killing rats. She likes rabbits, but she's not into killing rats. And so she has no value towards me. But I'm not gonna hard cull that dog. She first off, she's going to go to a working home where she's good at, which is rabbits. She's good at chasing rabbits. She likes chasing rabbits.
Yeah, you said you said your buddy's taking her, and that's what he does. He does the rabbit thing.
So that's
the jackrabbit thing.
Exactly. That's my first place. If I have a dog that's not working out for my program, the first thing I look for is what job would this dog be good at? So I had another dog. It was a Drahthaar. If you guys know what a Drahthaar is, it's like a German short hair wire hair, German wire hair pointer, but from Germany. The actual German lines, they're called Deutsch Drahthaars, as opposed to the American lines, which are called German wire hair pointers.
All right, let me ask you something real quick. All right, so you remember earlier, not to cut you off, sorry, just because you said that real quick. Earlier I was talking about my lecture, and I said German pointer, but that's not the same thing as a Drahthaar.
No, so a German wire hair is okay. So in order to be a Drahthaar, now I'm not an expert on this breed, so there might be something.
I'm asking that because the person who bred this dog, they said the dog. Well, from what they said, the dog is Drahthaar, but I told you German pointer because I'm thinking they're the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So let me explain the difference.
Okay.
Now, before I explain the difference, I am not an expert on this breed, so if I misspeak on some little detail, I apologize for anyone who knows better. But according to my knowledge and understanding, which is limited, this is the difference. So a Deutsch Drahthaar, they have a certain criteria of working tests that the dog has to pass. And in order for the dog to be given basically a credential that allows them to breed, they have to do X, Y, and Z. They have to follow this track, and they have to retrieve this bird, and they have to show this physical ability, and they just have a list of things that they have.
That's the level of test, yeah.
And if they do not pass those tests sufficiently, they are docked and they're marked unbreedable. And if you do breed the dog, you're welcome to, but those puppies will not be Drahthaars. They will be German wire hair pointers.
Okay.
The German wire hair pointer, you could have a dog with 3 heads and 1 leg. And as long as the parents were both German wire hair pointers, you can then breed that dog or whatever it is. And I used a ridiculous.
They are the same blood or the same. So they are the same blood, the same look, and all that. It's just you're only a Drahthaar if you pass those level of tests.
Yep. And if you don't pass those tests, you're a German wire hair pointer. Now, are there German wire hair pointers that are better than most Drahts? Sure. But because
maybe they didn't get tested,
they might have not got tested.
Okay.
So that's the thing. The dog has to pass those tests. It doesn't mean he has to be able to pass those tests. If nobody run him through the tests, you have no idea.
Yeah, he could be kind of like sports where they say that the best people in the city never really make it to the NBA.
Exactly. They got shot in a drive-by, or they decided to pursue a law degree or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The best basketball player in the world probably never picked up a basketball because he's
if you talk to even
or whatever,
Yeah, if you look at and we're not, we're gonna get into sports too crazy, but and even if you talk to interviews with KD, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they all say they wasn't the best on the courts they grew up on.
Yeah.
They're just the ones that stayed focused in school and stuff like that, but they wasn't the best in their city or the courts they grew up on. They all know someone that was better than them. That person just, grades wasn't up or got into trouble or, like you said, pursued something else, but he was actually better than them. He just didn't pursue it or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I guarantee you, is the same case with Deutsch Drahthaars and German Wire.
I mean, a lot of dogs.
And once they don't meet that criteria, they could produce a dog that meets that criteria, but it doesn't matter because they failed all of their offspring.
Yeah, the puppies,
immediately failed. They can't even take the test. So you've got within the German wire hair pointers, you've got guys who are even certain specific individual breeders who've got maybe a higher standard than the Drahthaar. And so their dogs are maybe even a little better than your standard Drahthaars.
But
And then
because their grandfather failed, they can't.
Exactly.
They're not legit.
They'll never be allowed back into the, is my understanding. Again, I'm not an expert at this. There might be little loopholes that I'm misunderstanding. But my understanding is once they fail, their whole prodigy from then on are no longer allowed to be tested. So there are German wire hair pointers that are just as good as any Drahthaar, but they'll never be allowed to breed in their program because they didn't pass the test, or their parents didn't pass the test, and such and so forth. So they're the exact same. They have all the same ancestry. They just are bred to a different standard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I had a dog that was one of those crossed with a stag hound, which is a coyote hunting greyhound, basically, to make things simple. That dog, she would kill rats, but she was just really like way too soft about it. She took too long. She wasted time. She just wasn't in it. And but she was great at retrieving, and she loved water, and she could find stuff. And like that kind of dog, she's not going to a pet home. She'd drive a pet person up the wall. She's going to go to some, duck hunter who wants a retriever, or a rabbit hunter who wants a dog to find and flush rabbits, or, things like that.
Yeah.
And then if I have a dog who's like let's say I had a stag hound that wasn't interested in any game, rabbits, rats, coyotes, nothing interested in her. So she went to a pet home, and fortunately with sight hounds, they're so mellow, they're a really easy pet prospect. And she just lays around the house, and she's like 7-8 years old now. I gave her away a long time ago, and my buddy still has her, and I see her like once a year or something. I'll go to his house. Usually he comes to my house, so I don't see her very often. But when I do to go to his house, I see her, and she's still there. So that's kind of my way of doing things, regardless of the breed. I customize to that dog's abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, and I find them a new home. I have yet to have a dog that's like so bad I have to put it down. I've never had that, but I'm sure someday I'll get some dog that is screws loose and nobody's home is right for them. Right?
Yeah, I've never
it's dangerous for the public. Yeah, I'm not gonna release that dog to the public. I'm gonna take care of it.
We've helped with a couple different adoptions over here at LYL Dogs, and we never ran into any situations where it was like the dog just couldn't be put anywhere, and not a lot, we're just, but people do contact us for things like that, helping getting, I don't want to say get rid of a dog, but finding a dog, a new home and stuff like that. So we helped out with a few things like that. It's always fun to help out with things like that. But yeah, we haven't ran into anything where it's like, okay, this dog just can't, just shouldn't be in any home. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I'm lucky that hasn't happened yet, and I hope it never happens. That'd be my preference.
Yeah. What's our Mountain Strong Kennel? I have some small Haler Terriers cross dogs that have been more gritty than my Hurler. Okay, yeah, Halers are so much more healthier and smarter than my Terrier side. The mother is a Patterdale Bull Terrier, father Haler. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun cross. That really does. One day maybe I'll make one on purpose or find one, but I'm not in a huge hurry. But it sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
You got your pack's pretty good right now.
Yeah.
As far as like you said, you like to keep the 3 sizes, and and that's what you have right now. With Bindi taking care of the big stuff. Nice cross, Mountain Strong. That's about far as the breeding fits your needs. Yeah.
Oh, someone was asking earlier about my vaccination and worming schedule. I don't have like a very strict regimen. Like I don't have like a calendar that says, oh, I need to do this and do that. I'm not as organized as maybe I should be. But basically what I do is I rotate through wormers. So I try not to like use the same medication all the time. I do have a favorite though that I use more often than others. They call it the triple threat, and it's, man, I'd have to go grab the bottle to tell you, but it's 3 different worming medications in one, and it's supposed to cover everything from the typical hookworms and roundworms all the way up to tapeworms. I like it. The guys that had recommend it, they swear by it, and I like it. And then I will rotate through other, just mix it up so that we're not doing the same medications, because you always have to worry about them becoming resistant, the parasites, to the whatever medication you happen to use all the time. Then you'll end up with, especially if you have lots of dogs, you'll end up with a resistance to that medication, and you'll still have the parasites. So I try and rotate, but that's the one that I use the most, is that triple threat. And I'm sorry, I don't have the drugs memorized. Those like 3-paragraph long words are hard. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but so I don't even know how to pronounce half of those. I'm like, oh yeah, that one. And I've got a list of them on my computer as to what they cover. So I have a whole table. This drug covers this and this and this, and this drug covers this and this and this, and these are pros and cons of that drug. And so I've got a whole table that I reference. I don't have it memorized, the names. But yeah, I worm on a regular basis, but it's not like calendar regular. As far as vaccinations, yeah, I just once a year I give it a 10-way. And that covers leptospirosis, which is important for me because rats could carry that. But leptospirosis, along with all the other standard vaccinations that everyone else gives anyway. But yeah, I just do that once a year for my dogs. And then I obviously keep them up on their rabies vaccinations too. But I don't have a like really precise, I'm not like Tom Gardner.
Every 90 days I deworm them, and yeah. What do you do as far as feed? Are you like a kibble, raw, both?
I'm all raw. Yeah, I feed pretty much the stuff we're catching. I mean, I don't feed raccoons because they carry too many weird diseases and parasites and junk. If I was to start feeding raccoons, it would be because I'm hitting up hard times, and I would probably cook it. They just have so many just noxious parasites in them. And I mean, we hunt them. Maybe I'm just being a total hypocrite. Our dogs hunt them. They swap saliva and blood. Heck, they probably should just be eating them. But I don't know, man. They just carry such noxious diseases and parasites. It just makes me nervous. And like I said, maybe I'm just a total hypocrite. They're already swapping blood and saliva. Why not just let them eat them? And sometimes the dogs will eat a little before you get there too. So I had a bulldog that would bite so hard that their chest would be popped open, and then he'd start slurping. And if you didn't get there quick, he'd be full. Yeah. But most dogs don't do that. They have such a hard time that the coon's never dead before you get there. You never have to worry about that. But that dog, you had to worry about him not just killing it before you get there, but killing it and start eating it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so me personally, I'm not speaking out against anyone who does feed raccoon. I just, man, it just makes me nervous. So I don't feed coon, but everything else, the beavers. So basically what I do is I split it up on size. Little stuff goes to the mink, big stuff goes to the dogs. So, and the cutoff point is like a domestic rabbit. So like I get a lot of like old laying hens, roosters, sometimes we'll get like domestic rabbits, things like that are given to me for free. And those can go either way. That's like the middle ground. They might go to the mink, but they're probably going to the dogs. Anything smaller than that, and it's almost exclusively to the mink. So squirrels, rats, muskrats, that kind of sized animal, pretty much exclusively mink. And then you get the big old beavers.
And that's what mink would be eating in the wild.
Yeah, exactly. So like beavers, geese, just like the bigger stuff, predominantly to the dogs. One thing they will eat kind of in common, like I said, like domestic rabbit, chicken, and that might go either way, but it's going to go mostly to the dogs. But one thing we will feed pretty in common are carp. And I don't feed a lot of carp, but when I have access to it, kind of what I end up doing is I cut off the head, cut off the tail, feed that to the dogs, and then the in between I chop up for the mink, because the mink have a hard time eating those big bony gill plates.
Yeah.
And the tail is like mostly bone with just a little bit. The very end of the tail is mostly bone with just a little bit of flesh. And so I just end up feeding those parts to the dogs, and then the middle, which is more fleshy and less bony, to the mink.
Right.
And the easiest way if you're going to feed fish to a dog is you want it partially frozen. A lot of dogs don't like it if you have it all the way thawed out. It's all slimy and kind of goopy, and a lot of dogs don't like it. But if you have it soft frozen, so not hard frozen to where it like shatters, you want it stiff. So it's stiff, it's not slimy, and it's dry and it's stiff. But if you hit it, it makes a dent instead of going like glass.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that is easier for you as well, because you could chop it up with like an axe or a big meat cleaver or a saw, and it's stiff instead of like flopping all over and slimy and slipping out of your hands, because it's nice and dry, and you can cut it, and the stiffness makes it easier to cut through those big heavy scales on the carp, and it's just so much easier for you to handle, and the dogs like it. Like there's some dogs that just won't eat it thawed, and you freeze it a little bit and they'll eat it.
Yeah. My dogs love fish, for sure.
But the one thing with carp or a lot of fish, salmon family doesn't apply to. So if you're feeding salmon or trout or something, you're fine. But a lot of the more bottom feeders like carp and catfish, and you've got to be careful not to feed too many days in a row, because they have it's called thiaminase, and it's a substance that basically blocks the absorption of a certain B vitamin. And if you feed it too many days in a row, they'll be deficient in that B vitamin.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a lot of fishes. There's a lot of different types of fish that are not good for not good for your dog.
Yeah, and it's totally fine to feed it. You just don't feed it like for a month
constantly,
or even a week. You just feed it. So like for me, when I feed that stuff, it's like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or something like that. I was
gonna say maybe 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, or just Monday and Thursday.
And it also depends the size of the dog.
Yeah,
and how much you're feeding them, of course, too.
Yeah, but you want to have a day or 2 or 3 of break so that they get that vitamin B that they're missing, and then you give it to it, and it's not going to hurt them at all. It's not like, oh, you're cutting corners and it's not good for your dog. No. Having one day with that vitamin B, that certain I can't remember which, it's B1 or something. I can't remember what B vitamin it is. Whatever, them missing that one day is not going to affect them at all. Mm-hmm. It's when they miss it day after day after day after day for a long period, then it causes problems, because it's just normal and natural for animals to eat something with thiaminase. For example, egg, I think it's egg whites. Egg whites, if they eat too many days in a row, they get deficient. And the same reason is not thiaminase, it's a different property, but it does the same thing. It blocks a certain vitamin from being absorbed, and they'll become deficient in it. Well, you just don't feed eggs every day. It doesn't mean you never feed eggs. Just you don't feed it every day. You feed it once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, but no more than that.
Yeah. So there's a question that and actually I'm surprised I didn't see him in here. Biotin deficiency.
That's the one with the egg, right? The biotin is from the egg?
Yeah, for eggs, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you said it.
Yep.
For eggs too often. He wasn't, I don't think he was in it today, but my good friend Jamie Park, he's he's well known in the Patterdale world. And one of the questions that he brought up, months ago, that's been an ongoing one. And it's more for like the Patterdales when it comes to, earthwork and going in the ground and stuff and like that. But so the question basically was, and people have been going back and forth. Some people say this, some people say that. So it's basically, what would you rather have when it comes to, the Patterdale and the earthwork? Was it mouth or nose? More mouth or more nose? Obviously, there's people that say, most people is like, 50-50. Just down the middle, I'd rather have a dog that, that has enough nose to find everything and then enough mouth to hold everything. So 50-50. But if you had to pick one more than the other, what would it be?
So that would be more of a question for my bulldog, because for my Patterdales, I don't really want them, other than rats. I don't really want them getting in there and getting dirty, right? I want a softer dog, and I know that for Patterdale guys especially is a bit of a uh, it's not a popular opinion, right? Most
No,
Patterdale
no.
guys want their dogs to get in and get messy. I don't, because I'm using them for beavers and things like that that'll kill them. I want them to have some self preservation, and even if it's not a beaver, I send them down a beaver hole and it's a raccoon. I don't want them messed up for a week. I need to work tomorrow. I have a job tomorrow. You
Yeah.
get in there, you give me a yappity yap, let me know that coon's in there, and then I'll send Bindi in, and she'll be the one with the mouth.
Yeah.
She'll be the one getting the
You
dirty.
know, with
You
the
can chew up
earthwork
my
we do,
coon's
you
butt while
can't.
she kills it, right? I
Yeah,
don't want you getting in there
with
and
the
getting chewed up.
earthwork we do, something like a groundhog, right? You
Yeah,
wouldn't. They'll
it's not
just
not.
yap, and then the groundhog would just. It would just. You wouldn't find the groundhog. It would get away. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
And
the
you
thing,
can't
though.
send a big dog in there to get it. So you got to have a dog that's just gonna go in and pretty much grab and hold until you dig them out.
That's the thing, though. There are dogs that can keep it there. Now, I'm not a professional at groundhog digging. I've done very little, so I'm not trying to tell you how to do your profession when I don't
Yeah.
do it, right? I'm not the electrician trying to tell the plumber his job. But there are, as far as the ground work that I do, I don't want a dog that just barks and does nothing. As long as that animal's facing him, he can't run away. It's when he
Well,
turns around, then you get a mouthful of fur. So I
yeah.
want a dog to
Okay.
be in there just as much as they need to be, but no more than they need to be either. And I'm not trying to say that's how you should do groundhogs, because I don't know how you should do groundhogs. You do them the way you do them.
Yeah, I mean, there's different
I run into
settings too. You might go somewhere in the West Coast and the groundhogs, because of the dirt and the setup, they're this way. Then you come somewhere and okay, for instance, where I'm at, it's a lot of um man-made stuff and big boulders and rocks. So a lot of the groundhogs are in between the rocks and all that.
yeah.
So you can't really dig them out. Where when I go to
That's the scenarios that we went. So when we do what we
mhm.
have rock chucks, that's the scenarios we're in more than often than not. So
Yeah,
usually
exactly.
we
So you
want
can't
them
do
to be
much.
shifted out so that
Yeah,
they bolt to the dog or something else.
yeah. See that. So with the groundhogs, they'll out here they're mostly in the rocks. So if you let your dog in, you might not never get your dog out because you're not moving a whole bunch of boulders and stuff. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to just hope your dog comes out. But then there's sets where some of these groundhogs will have sets where there's different chambers where it's like, so the hole might be here, or they'll have different separate holes, escape hole maybe too. So you got to block off holes, but the hole could be here, and then the nursery will be here. Then it goes down more, and like the pantry's here. Then it goes down here more, and like the the I don't know where they another little they'll have like different holes in different tunnels, and those tunnels might lead to somewhere like where it's bigger, where the dog might be able to back them in because there's no hole. Like I said, if it's like a nursery, but there's always like most of the time there's other holes that they could just, you know, some of them they're just running around in the holes. You know what I mean? Like you'll track your dog with the tracker, and your dog's moving because it's trying to get to the groundhog, and the groundhog's moving from this tunnel to that tunnel to this tunnel to that tunnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So things like that. But something like that, like you said, you want. And I mean, if you have a dog where it's like, okay, they turn around and they grab it from the back, I mean, that could work. Depends the size of the tunnel too, because they could do that, and then the groundhog just turn around and bite half their face off. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, but could do that obviously if they're facing them too. So it's just you just kind of hope and see
Yeah.
what happens when you get the dog out the dirt type thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But hey, it's all part of the game.
But yeah, I'm in a different scenario than most guys with their terriers. So really, my opinion is kind of irrelevant because I'm in a different world that you don't have the options that I do, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the scenarios that you guys do. So
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of people. I do know a lot of people who don't really do any earthwork. They're just in the city doing ratting with their Patterdales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just they don't do too much earthwork because for several reasons. They might not where they're at. There's probably not too much. There might not be too much land for them to be, to do earthwork. And then some of them are, to be honest, just scared to see their dog or let their dog get banged up, or let your dog in the earth. They might not get it back. I've seen that happen too, where dogs didn't make it. So,
it's always a risk.
Part of the game, right? But yeah, we've been on here for about 2 hours. Anything else you want to get into? Again, I appreciate you coming on here. I mean, I've been watching. Honestly, I didn't think when I contacted you, you was gonna even answer me back. To be honest, I'm like, this guy's probably busy. I'm nobody. He's probably not gonna answer me back. But you did. I appreciate it. We got you right on here, and yeah, I didn't think I would be talking to you at any point in my life, because I mean, I know you're humble and just like a regular guy, but not to people who've been watching your YouTube videos for a couple of years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I appreciate you coming on here. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure everyone who locks in with me and on here on Wednesdays.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. You say I'm just a regular guy.
yeah.
I have a YouTube channel. It's doesn't make me any different.
Hey, you're the Mink Man. You're not just regular guy. You're the Mink Man. Yeah, man. But yeah, hopefully I could get you on here in the future again. And it was great talking to you. Appreciate you coming on here. And yeah, man, thanks again. It was a good talk, fun time. Learned a lot. I'm hoping the people watching learned a lot. And yeah, good luck to you and your dogs, and keep hunting, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, and everyone who tuned in, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Check out, if you haven't already, I'm pretty sure everyone has, but if you haven't already, of course, check out the Mink Man's YouTube channel. He got Joseph Carter, the Mink Man is your channel?
Yeah. Really, you can just look up mink. I kind of have a monopoly on the word mink, so you can just look up mink, and
definitely
you're gonna run into me first.
Yep, and you got plenty of videos with plenty of action, and you can see pretty much everything he was talking about. See his dogs, some old, some of his, some a little newer, and watch his whole thing. Go ahead.
One thing worth mentioning. Sorry to cut in there like that, but
oh no, you're fine.
So my YouTube channel is very PG, because YouTube requires it. They don't allow you to show a lot of stuff. YouTube's funny. They're extremely inconsistent. One guy can put on video X and get no hassle from YouTube. And another guy can put up the exact same video X and they get banned from YouTube immediately.
So I think you're right. I've seen that a lot. I think some of it comes down to how many people are reporting.
Yeah, for sure. Because, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Sean Woods, Mousetrap Mondays. He can't show one single dead mouse. And I'll show me laying on 1,000 dead rats. Yeah. Like, why is it I can show 1,000 dead rats and I'm laying on them like a bed, and he can't show like a simple picture of one? It's pretty ridiculous. So for me,
someone's hating on him and reporting him like major, like probably just clicking it every day once, you know what I mean? Just hitting them with like 20, 30 reports. So they kind of like, yeah.
And so for me, what I can't show is anything to do with raccoons. I've literally had videos taken down as they're being uploaded. Like, they didn't even finish uploading. And it's like, that video's gone. I'm like, they didn't even finish. How do you know it's, they got some kind of bots or something. Yeah, that they're like reviewing the video as it's uploading to their platform, and they'll give you a strike before it's even done uploading. Anyway, so I've got a lot of stuff that I can't show, and honestly, a lot of stuff that I choose not to show. I just don't feel like having 1 million people see, because I mean, I have videos that have 30 million views, and there are certain parts of my life I really don't want 30 million people seeing, or even 500,000 people seeing. So I will keep those and the videos that YouTube won't let me show on my private club. So I call it Mink Man's exclusive club. And it does cost money, so it's not free. But what it does is it allows me to, it incentivizes me to still make those videos that I couldn't put on YouTube, because I'm not going to make them otherwise. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, I spend a good 40 to 60 hours a week just editing videos. I'm not going to edit a video for fun. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Not anymore. Yeah.
It's like if you're a mechanic and your neighbor says, "Hey, can you help me work on my car for free?" It's like, dude, I do this all day long. Why would I do it for free?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I still make those videos. I just put them on my exclusive club. So like a lot of the beaver hunting, when I'm spearing beavers, I'll send in a little terrier. He bolts the beaver out and I spear it. Can't show that on YouTube. My dog's hunting raccoons. So my pit bull Bindi, she'll tree a raccoon. We'll knock it down with a big long extension pole, and then she dispatches it. Or we get a raccoon up in a beaver hole. The terrier bays it, bark, 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 send in pit bull. She goes in, she drags it out and kills it. And I get all of that on film, but it doesn't make it to my YouTube channel because of the censorship on YouTube. So I have my own exclusive club. There's a lot of stuff that I don't put on YouTube. Some of it's just personal. Like I said, I just don't want too many people to see it. Maybe it's like training methods that's maybe a little risque, or maybe
I was just gonna say some of your methods. Some people don't like to show their methods to everyone.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm like trying to be secret. I just don't want the wrong kooky blue-haired Californian to see it and me to have problems, you know. And the way I see it, if you're willing to pay a few bucks to watch it, you're probably not hating me. I mean, how many people are going to go pay money to watch someone they hate? They might watch. A lot of people will.
They might pay once, but they're not going to keep paying.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that'll watch someone they hate for free, but not very many people are going to pay to watch someone that they hate. So I have a very loyal, understanding following there that I can be more open with. I can tell them details I don't want other people to know. When a mishap happens, man, YouTube is brutal when something happens to your dog or whatever. So a lot of times I'm just like, YouTube, you don't need to know. My club, I'll let you know, hey, this mishap happened. Sorry, guys. So they get a lot of news. They get a lot of like training details. They get gory videos that I can't show when the dog grabs a rat and it splits his nose open and he's bleeding all over, or the rat's guts fly out, or anything raccoon oriented. You know, all of that stuff gets cut out of YouTube, and they'll get to see kind of the gory details or like the behind the scenes stuff. So anyway, long story short, or I guess that was really a short story I made long.
It's all good.
If you want to get the more detailed version, check it out. And you could really just subscribe for a month, binge, and then never come back if that's really what you want. But it's a cool, like I call it, my exclusive club, where you really get the inside version of what's going on. And you get to see all the stuff that, frankly, YouTube just won't let me post. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't want to post, even if YouTube would let me. The way things are going these days in the dog world, we've got to keep our noses clean and our appearance as shiny as we can. And keeping it on a private channel really helps me to be able to be a little more open than it probably really should be, even if YouTube did allow it. So anyway, just a little plug to my club. Go check it out. If you just want to try for a month and binge while you're there and then never come back. You have the freedom to do that if you want. So
yeah, go check it out, guys. Go check it out. And again, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And again, Mink Man, appreciate you. Appreciate everyone else for coming through and checking out the live. And you guys know I'll be back here Wednesday. And everyone have a good night. Peace.
Good night.